Hello, everyone. I hope and pray that you're doing well. I know that it's not midweek, but here is a quick video message. You'll notice maybe that I'm standing at the back doors of the church. Hopefully the reason for that will become apparent pretty soon. I spent some time on vacation. Elle and I managed to travel around the province a few places and relax, meet with some family. Of course, seeing some of the forest fires and that was quite concerning, and especially thinking about those we know that live in those places and those in our congregation, people we know that are fighting those fires. But there's something about traveling that can be invigorating. Maybe you've had a chance to do so recently. New vistas, new things to see, new culture, interesting people that you meet. But there's also something about coming home. Sleeping in your own bed after a long period of time, returning to some comfortable routines or comfortable food, or, there's nothing quite like being at home. And maybe some of you think about this space, this church space as home. I've read The Fellowship of the Ring a number of times, and I've begun listening to it more recently on audiobook. And I was reminded of a familiar quote from Bilbo Baggins, and Frodo actually quotes Bilbo saying, "It's a dangerous business, Frodo, going out your door. You step out onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept off to." And maybe especially during these times, we're not sure quite what lays outside of our door. We're a little bit guarded. Now there's this word, peripatetic. Peripatetic, it's not an English word that most of us use in everyday conversation. It comes from this Greek word, peripateo, which means literally to walk. But it also includes this kind of sense of to progress or to make one's way. And in the Bible, peripatetic is often a metaphor for being in step with Jesus. And scriptures, of course, then encourage us to be careful then how we walk, or to walk as children of the light. And I think most of us know still, though, that walking the walk, and that can be very difficult. And especially with the one with whom we walk, Jesus Christ, walk the Via Dolorosa, the way of suffering. And that's the one who's our guide. It's a hard walk sometimes. And so journeying outside our front door, is just as hard sometimes for us as it can be for Frodo. It can be just as true for the church as it can be for us as individuals. And we talk sometimes about the church coming together, gathering for worship, the gathered church, right? And then the scattered church, leaving through these doors out into the week, to live as God's people and under God's strength. That we come, we gather in order to scatter, to leave this place again. We don't just gather for the sake of gathering. We don't just try to stay safe or hunker down. We gather in order that we might move into, we might walk with, we might journey into all the areas, all the different corners of our life in the light of the good news of Jesus, to walk with him. St. Augustine said to God, "Our hearts are restless, O God, until they find their rest in thee." Until they find their home in thee. And so in your wandering around and in your homecomings, I hope and pray that you are strengthened to serve God. At home, on the road, in a church building, watching worship online. And Presbyterian pastor Dick Halverson concluded his worship service always with this line, saying, "Remember, you go nowhere by accident," right? And sometimes we say, as we're about to leave, "Go in peace to love and serve the Lord," right? And so we could put some of those things above the door if we wanted to. Or maybe we could remind ourselves that the church isn't just, something that exists for 1 hour on Sundays, but instead that it exists for the sake of those other 167 hours of the week. And we come home, as it were, not to rest, but also so that God might rejuvenate us, to send us back out onto the road by the power of his Spirit. Friends, the peace of Christ be with you on the road.